Hello, you are listening to NPE Stories. This is a podcast where NPEs can share their story. I am your host, Lily, and I found out I was an NPE through an ancestry DNA test that changed my life forever. NPE is a term that stands for not parent expected or non-paternal event. This means that one or more of our parents are not who we believe them to be. NPE Stories is a podcast where NPEs can share their story of what their original family was like, how they found out they were an NPE, and what their journey has been like since the day they found out. Welcome to Season 3. This is episode 90. If you are a seasoned listener, you may recognize the original Season 1 theme song. I decided to bring it back this season. And I just spent my month-long break fully immersed in summer activities for my 3 children, sprinkled with a good dose of mental health work. I have multiple therapists in my life for all the areas I'm working through. I also am in a support group along with individual therapy. And so here's a good place to throw in a resource that I wanted to pass along for anyone looking for NPE therapists. I always have listeners that are looking for therapists who have some experience working with a misattributed parentage experience. And so if you go to npecounseling.org, M as in mother or misattributed, npecounseling.org, you will find a directory of therapists. I just counted 27, and that makes me very happy. There's also a hotline that Right to Know has for anyone who needs to speak to someone or be paired with someone as an NPE mentor. And you can call this right now if you wish. It's 323-TALK-MPE. Again, that's MPE as in misattributed parentage. I know these are interchangeable acronyms in our community, and it can be a bit confusing. But for those of you listening, welcome. I know that there are a few of you in agony today, listening to these episodes one after another because you find yourself consumed with a shocking DNA discovery in your life. Or perhaps you're feeling pretty good, sometimes shitty and sometimes peaceful. Maybe you have a couple of years under your belt and time has healed in some capacity with your NPE. When you are in the thick of it, it's hard to imagine that time heals, but it's true. And so does being of service and learning you are not alone. I created this podcast because I wanted to hear others' experience with their NPE, and it was honestly the only thing that made me feel better in the beginning. And let's listen to our story for today. And today I am speaking with Jaclyn. Hi, Jaclyn.
Hi, Lily. I just wanted to thank you for having this, like everybody does, but I really think it's very important because it really helped me. I know it helps a lot of people, and it's helped me a lot in just kind of processing and making sense, because I know this is a really new thing for a lot of people. And so I just wanted to just give you some props. So thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. How far into your NPE? When did you find out?
So in October, it will be 2 years. I don't know if you just want me to start talking about it, but
yeah, okay, 2 years in. Why don't you go ahead? Do you know the format of? Let me just quickly remind you, since it is this is going to be the first episode of season 3. I know you know this, Jaclyn, but I will say it again. Normally, people share their stories. They give like a little bit of whatever they're comfortable with their family of origin. And then they talk about how they found out they were an NPE. And then they talk about what life is like now. So I'll let you kind of take it wherever you'd like.
So I'm going to just tell you a little bit when I found out, how long ago. And then I'll backtrack to my family origin, if that's okay.
Of course.
Okay, so I found out almost 2 years ago, and it was because I was I decided to get on Ancestry.com because I was in a teaching program, and there were a lot of my colleagues that were getting on Ancestry and were kind of for fun, getting to know like what our heritage is, and what percentages and all that stuff. So I decided to do it just kind of for fun. I did not find out until almost I think it was like almost a year after I got into Ancestry. Someone messaged me, and it said that she messaged me and asked me how we're related. It says we're either half sisters. I can't remember everything because I deleted Ancestry, and I'll tell you why a little bit later. But it said we were related, that we could be half sisters. She could be my niece or granddaughter or something like that. And I'm like, well, we look like we're around the same age. She could be my sister. So I called my mom and dad, and I asked, I asked if my dad could have any kids out there, because my dad wasn't the most faithful person. They're not together, actually. They're friends, but they live together. They're roommates. So that, of course, they were. I talked to my mom first, and she said, "Well, you know how your dad was always cheating. There was this one woman that he thought that was pregnant, but I think she lost the baby, but maybe she didn't. I don't know." And so I'm thinking, well, maybe, because I was just thinking, well, that it was somebody from my dad, and so I called up my sister, I'll backtrack a little bit. I also asked my dad, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know." And so I called up my sister and said, we might have a half sister, because I got this message from Ancestry, and so I'm just trying to figure it out. And as I was talking with her, she had messaged me while I was on the phone. I can't remember how, because I think I was looking it up and just to tell her a little bit about her, but I saw the message, and she said, my dad was in the state I was born from 69 to 71. And that's when my heart dropped, and I just kind of like, oh my God. And my sister and I just started bawling. And we're like, maybe it's a glitch. Maybe like it's a big mistake. Like, that can't be. She's like, I'm like, you know what? Let me just hang up. I'm going to call mom. Let me call mom. And so I hung up with her, and I called my mom. My mom was just, I asked her, are you sure, like, that you didn't have an affair on dad? No, you know how he was the one always cheating on me. No, of course not. And I'm like, because this is what she said, that her dad was in the state that we live in, from 69 to 71. And she's like, no, of course, no, I don't know. Are you sure? And she kept saying no, denying no. And then finally I kept pressing, and finally she's like, well, there was this one time. And then she told me about it. And then I just was like, still not believing it. I'm like, I couldn't. And then my mom's like, but I don't think you're your dad's. Like, I don't think, he's, she just still was like not convinced that I was this other guy's. At the time I had a roommate, and I was talking with her about it, and we were talking with our other friend, and they're like, what regions does it say you're from? So I didn't even look at all that stuff. And does it say, do all your dad's families come up? And to be honest, I didn't even look, because I was more interested. I was more interested like the breakdown of my identity. I didn't even look. I saw a few people on there, but I thought, oh, that looks like it could be somebody that I'm like from my mom's side. But then I looked, and I didn't see any, but I saw people that I didn't know, names that I didn't know. And I saw people that were related to my mom, but I didn't see anybody that I knew from my dad's side of the family. And then I looked at the regions. Oh, and I forgot to say that her dad was from Zacatecas, Mexico. And so when it brought up the regions, that my dad, my mom, my birth certificate dad, they're from the same area. So it brought up all the regions that they were from,
Mm-hmm.
which are on this side of the Colorado, New Mexico area. Those are the areas they're from. And then it said Zacatecas. And I'm like, oh my God, she told me that her dad was from Zacatecas. I just was, like, there was too much evidence. Like, I wanted to deny it and just kind of say that it was probably a mistake. Like, ancestors, this has to be a mistake. There's no way. But then there were too much evidence that pointed to, like, no, this is, I mean, I was just in denial. I knew it was right, but I just felt like it was just too hard to accept. And then she sent me a picture of her dad when he was young. And I sent it to my mom, and I called her, and I told her that I sent her a picture, and she looked at it. And then she just said, I don't know if I can swear in here, but to quote my mom, she said, "Oh, fuck." um, and, and then it was just from there, it just took me a long time to process, like, because I think I was like 48 at the time that I found out, and I'm 50 now, but I just could not, it was really hard to accept. And the whole experience was like, I think the first thing I thought was, oh my God, how is her mom going to feel? And then I thought, oh my God, how are they going to feel? I was thinking about the people who were victimized in the whole thing, like, how are they going to feel when they find this out? The sister that had connected with me was really, really kind, really kind. And I was really nervous because I thought she was going to be her. She was telling me about all their siblings. I thought they were going to be her. I was thinking about the mom, especially the mom. The mom was going to be hurt to find this news out. And I just didn't want to hurt anybody. But she was also kind of being the same as I was. She was worried about how I felt. And so it really felt like, because she could tell, she knew that I was going to be really surprised, and she was so gentle. She was really sensitive about sharing my information with her other sister, and she'd asked me, like, my other sister wants to know you. Can I give her your information? And just very sensitive about it. I think because of the way they responded to me, made me feel like I wanted to meet them. And I'm going to get back to that, but I'm going to go back to how I grew up, my origins of how I grew up.
Yeah.
I grew up. I wouldn't say that it was not the easiest upbringing. I had, or I have had and have 5 siblings. 2 of them who died when they were adults, and then so I have 3 siblings that are alive, that I grew up with. My dad, like I said, was always cheating on my mom, and when we were little, and he had a drinking problem. So I think probably he was in and out for a little while when I was really little, probably when I was maybe 3rd or 4th grade. I mean, I don't remember exactly, but I know I was still in elementary school when he was finally it was just my mom, where they were finally just not going to work it out. I grew up pretty much in a single parented household with 5 kids. We were all kind of like back to back, a year and a half to 2 years apart. So there were a lot of us. And then we always had cousins that lived with us. So I didn't really have like a bedroom or anything until I was a teenager. And then I didn't really have a lot of space. And so, and so there was really no privacy, which is really strange because I think the only thing that really helped me is, I want to share this, but it's I don't want it to be I'm just going to share it, I guess. So I think the only thing that really helped me through growing up was the arts. So I really lost myself in the arts because, like I said, we didn't have a lot of space. There was always a lot of chaos. My mom was always working. And then so we were kind of taking care of ourselves and each other. And, we grew up really poor. And so with that came a lot of things that kids, probably shouldn't have to deal with. And I don't want to go into a lot of that. But the arts is what really helped me and helped me escape. Because I think naturally I am more of an introvert. So that really helped me kind of be able to process my world and kind of make sense of things and kind of have a voice where I always felt my voice was muddled within like the chaos of everything. And I also grew up really responsible, having to I started working when I was 14 and helping pay rent and help with the family. It was really, really hard growing up. I wouldn't say that I ever want to be a kid again. Like some people, have fond memory, or like some things like they want to go back to. I don't feel like I'd ever want to go back to that because it was just really hard. I feel like my life is a lot easier now as an adult than it ever was when I was growing up. We lived in a state where there were also some traumas, generational traumas too. I think like I said, my both sides of my family were from New Mexico and Colorado and areas, and so there's a lot of historical traumas that were inflicted for generations with my both sides of my mom and dad's side of the family, with being pushed out of school, which I found out later my dad's story, and that's actually how I came to heal with him, and I'll talk to you about that in a second. But my mom wasn't able to get an education, so she went to the second grade, and so she worked really hard. So I mean, they didn't have the same opportunities as a lot of other families, a lot more privileged families. We grew up, where we were a family of color in the midst of mostly conservative. I don't know. More, I don't want to say the religion. It was a very religious state, but we weren't that religion. So we were kind of lived on the margins. So we didn't have the same opportunities. I think I'm just going to get into it a little bit because this will kind of make sense of why I was the only one in my family to graduate from high school and the only one to go to college. I found out later that, and it really helped me heal, that my father, they were segregated in the schools, hit for speaking Spanish, and they were just all kinds of really terrible things where Mexicans weren't able to serve the public. My aunt was one of the first people able to serve the public. So, and she distinctly remembers it. There were a lot of things that were that made it hard for us to advance, and so. So consequently, I became the first person in my family to graduate from high school and the first one to go to college. When I graduated from college, something really tragic happened in my family, and I guess I was just kind of tired of really terrible things always happening, to the point where it would our identity was almost being formed by stereotypes and the way the media shaped those stereotypes, and then my nieces would embrace them, and then it became like a vicious cycle. So I used my work to kind of try to find a way to really bring back a more positive identity. And so I went and asked a lot of my dad's family, where we came from. I asked my grandfather, and this is all my birth certificate father, where we came from. And this is when I found out all the stories and all the things that my dad went through, for generations, since the Treaty of Hidalgo was signed. We lost all of our land, and we lost, just all kinds of lost status, lost any sort of doors opening. I started to understand my dad a little bit more. There was more things in there that I could tell you, but I don't know if I really want to get too much into it, but it made me really understand my dad for the way he had all these issues as a young man. But then, so later on in life, he ended up quitting drinking. And so as an adult, I was able to heal with him and talk with him. And I started to have these art shows. I remember my dad went into one of my art shows, and he saw his father on the wall, and they were sheep herders, and so he would tell me about sheep herding with his dad. And my dad wasn't the type to really say a lot or tell me a lot about himself, but I remember when he looked up at that painting, you could tell that his eyes were watery, like he was teary eyed. It's the first kind of emotion that I ever saw my dad have. Like he didn't really show emotions. He didn't really hug or say I love you or anything like that. He was kind of just, and I know that it's generational. Like it's kind of like you just kind of have to cope and live and survive the realities of life. And I know that that's kind of what impacted my dad. And for me to be able to see that in him was really powerful. And I started to tell my dad that I loved him, because he never said he loved me ever. And it was almost like, and I would hug him, and it was almost like he felt really uncomfortable hugging me, but I would hug him. I almost felt like I was showing him how to love me. He was reciprocating, but you could tell he was really uncomfortable with it. And my uncle, his brother, used to tell me how proud he was of me, and how much he loved me. And I would ask him, really? I didn't, because he never tells me that, but I knew he did, but he just didn't know how to show it, Like, all throughout my adulthood, I kind of feel like my dad it's almost like he tried to make up for things. I think the way he does things is through acts of service than talking or do anything that I can tell that, like, I know that he loves me now, but as a kid, I didn't think he did, because I didn't know why he wouldn't say he loved me. So a lot of my work healed a lot of that stuff that I felt as a kid. Although some of it was, I did feel like I was a little bit, when I listened to your podcast and I listened to all the stories, I started to think too about some of the other things, like, that didn't make sense, and that where I did feel a little bit different, but I just kind of pushed it aside, because, you just kind of have to cope and deal with life and not let those things matter. And I think about those things, and I did feel growing up a little bit different, because I think I was always the one that was like, wouldn't be late for school, and my brother and sister would always be late, and I would be like, the principal would be like, how come you're always on time and they're always late? And I never followed them. I never followed the way they did things. I did things my own way. I just went my own way, and I always rebelled. And then I used to get a lot of. I know my siblings can be mean, but they're also very protective. So I kind of felt that, like, they always said that I was like different. Like I always felt different. Like I was it was too. I don't know. I got it for a long time. I got crap for a long time for going to college. Like from my brother telling me that I was like, I act like I'm too good for going to college, or I'm turning white or whatever, And so, but I would just do my own thing the way I wanted to do things. Like I would just almost like I thought it was like I was just rebelling, but I was rebelling in a way that where I wanted to get out of this. I wanted to get out of a really impoverished situation. I didn't want to have to, because I used to help my mom clean houses before I went to work. And I remember cleaning this house with my mom, and I was cleaning this kid's that was my same age. I was cleaning his room, and I just remember thinking, I just don't want this to be my destiny. I don't want to be when this kid grows up, I don't want to be his housekeeper. I want to be able to get out of this. And so I'd always do everything different. And I got a lot of crap for it, but at the same time, I knew that my family was really proud. Like I got a lot of crap, but they were proud. I got a lot of crap because they weren't used to the way I was doing things. So I'd get a lot of criticism for it, but at the same time, they were proud. So I don't know how to explain it, but so that's kind of, I know that's a long story of how I grew up. I'm telling you a story in a way where I don't want to share a lot of details, but I'm giving you the broad sense of, I hope, just to kind of give you a sense.
Oh no, Jaclyn, that sounds That sounds great. I've got a great picture of how you grew up. And did you say, I know you kind of mentioned it briefly, you worked on your art, but you were talking about being an artist,
Yeah.
right? Is that what you're, okay. And but you don't want to talk too much about that. Is that true?
Yeah. I don't really want to talk too
Yeah.
much about it, but it
I
is something
understand.
that it's like such an important part of helping me through things. And I guess the only thing I want to say about that is that one of the things that I found out after I found out I was an NPE, a lot of the people on that side of the or on they were all into, like, nobody studied art like I did, but they were all into the arts. In my family, they could care less about the arts unless it has to do with me being in the shows or doing the public art or whatever. They'll come and do that, but they could care less about it. But I didn't realize, getting to know some of the siblings and their dad and everything, which is my bio dad, I guess. But it feels like that maybe that's where I got it. I don't know, and maybe that's what kind of saved me. I don't know. My son is as a musician too. So, and I guess the dad's way into music. He's not a musician, but like, he's way into music, and he's also way into politics. And my son is also, that's what he studied. He studied Latino and Latin American studies and politics. My son is like very similar in that way. So it's really interesting. And then the young pictures that I also saw of their dad looks a lot like from the eyes up looks. I don't feel like I look like anybody. I might look slightly. I have some resemblances to my mom, but I don't really feel like I look like anybody in my family too much. Like, I kind of have maybe little things, but not too much. But my son looks, from the eyes up to the forehead, looks so much like their dad, like the grandpa. So I found that really strange, because it's almost like the looks of, they skip a generation or something, because he looks so much like him when he was young. And it was just striking and so strange.
Have you met your birth father?
For a long time, I didn't want to meet him, but and I still feel really conflicted. But I did meet him through Zoom back in January. I think a part of it is just I don't know. Part of me is curious and wants to know. Part of me feels like I'm portraying my birth certificate dad, and he doesn't. The reason why I want to keep this anonymous is because he doesn't know. I don't want him to know, because if it felt any way that I felt, I felt so. And he's in his 80s, and I just don't feel like it's. I don't feel like, what is it going to do? It's going to hurt him. So part of it is that, and the other part is I also have a fear that he's going to reject me, but I don't think he will. Like, I really don't. But there's a small part.
Your birth certificate father? You're afraid it would change your relationship with him?
Yeah, but part of me doesn't feel like it does, but I have that deep fear because I know I still have the abandonment issues as a kid. And so those they kind of linger, but I feel really close with my dad now, and I don't want to ruin that. And so he's elderly, and I just don't want him to feel that hurt. Like, it would hurt me if he were that hurt, and because I got hurt just finding out. Yeah. So I did meet him on Zoom, the biological dad along with their siblings. And the reason why they never pushed it, they never pushed for me to meet him or whatever. I think also I think I might have said that I might have mentioned that I didn't really want to meet him, but they never pushed it on me. And then one day I just kind of felt like, why isn't he pushing to meet me? Almost like I felt abandoned twice. Because
Mm-hmm.
the other thing that I found out was that um, one of them, I can't remember which of the siblings, said that they always knew they had a sibling in the state that I grew up, but they didn't know if I was a brother or a sister. They didn't know if I was a boy or a girl. So if he knew, like, why didn't he come look for me? Like, why didn't I, part of me
Oh.
feels like, why didn't, like, there were times where I felt like so much responsibility as a kid that I just wanted to be taken care of. Like, I, I know it sounds romantic now. Like, it probably happened for it. It's probably good the way it happened, because I probably wouldn't be the artist, or the work that I do now really is influenced by the way I grew up. And so I probably wouldn't have this purpose in life if it weren't for the way I grew up. But as a kid, I remember feeling like I just wanted to be, I mean, there were times where I just wanted to be taken away, because it was just so hard. And the fact that he knew, it just kind of made me feel like, well, then kind of felt like I was abandoned twice.
Yeah.
So and so anyways, I just, you know, and then the other part is like, I don't know him well enough to be angry with him.
Mm-hmm.
So, um,
So he knew your mom got pregnant with you.
so yeah, so the story is this, that's what one of the siblings said, is that he, his brother was still in that state where I lived, and that he told him that the woman that he was seeing was pregnant.
Mm.
Yeah. And also the other thing that I know is that the really cool thing about this whole thing is that mom really wanted to meet me too. And I just thought, wow. I mean, I just can't imagine, like, she wants to meet me. Like, I felt like she was the whole victim in all this. Like, why would, I just felt like that's just so forgiving, and just, it made me feel like I wanted to meet, like, who are these people that are really loving,
Mm-hmm.
it just made me feel like maybe there's a part of my genes that are, I don't know, like there's some hope, like, I don't know, because I think a part of you feels like I come from people who are lying and cheating, and like, what does that make me, And
Mm-hmm.
but I know that that's like, I just, there's a lot of things that you go through your mind, and they're not always rational, but
Was she married to
yeah,
your
he was cheating
birth
on her.
father? Oh,
He
he
was
was.
cheating on
Okay.
her with my
Mm-hmm.
mom, and my mom, I don't think she knew he was married, because I just don't think my mom would do that. But my mom and dad were, they were in their broken up phase, because they were always back and forth, back and forth. And so that's when the affair happened with with him, when she got pregnant. Um, but I guess the thing that she did, so yeah, he was with her
Oops.
still. And, the other story they told me was that he had this photo, um, of my mom, and they described her, and I'm like, oh my God, yes, that's my mom. There was a letter that he, um, in with it, and they don't know if it's a letter she wrote him, or if a letter that he was going to send to her but never did. Um, and this is where the confusion is, because my mom would, if she sent a letter, it would be somebody else writing it for her, because she wouldn't be able to write it. And 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 if it's a letter in spat, like, I honestly don't think that, like, my mom's really good at hiding, like, I know she feels really ashamed of her educational level, so, like, she's really good, like, at not of people not knowing, and so, um I don't think he
Is your mom
knew.
illiterate?
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't think he knew that, though.
Okay.
They're because they are confused. Well, why would he write? I'm like, you guys don't understand. I don't think my mom would tell him or let him let on. One of the just this morning, one of my the sister that messaged me, just left. We spent the whole week last week together. And one of the things that I felt a lot of insight about was that, we, the personalities, the way we are was, I felt like, when people say they're it's like they're looking in a mirror physically. I don't feel that way. I don't feel like I'm looking into a mirror, but I started to notice, oh my God, my personality, like it was like looking into a mirror.
Mm.
Um, and this is what, and then going back to how I felt so different from everyone. I think that's probably how I felt different, was because the way I did things was different from everyone. The way my personality was different. I'm the responsible one. I'm the one that takes care of everyone. And so like she says that her and her other sisters they're all like that. They're like always like, checking to see if everyone's okay. Are you okay? Like if they're all out to dinner, everybody will pull out their cards to pay. And I'm the same way in my family.
Mm-hmm.
But when we were together, it felt really awkward for me because I never had that reflected back to me. Like I never had my personality reflected back to me with somebody else that does similar things like that. So it was just really, it was really strange. I almost don't even know if I liked it, but I did, but also at the same time, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't do that so much. I was kind of self-criticizing a little bit. Yeah, so it was really strange. And the other thing, there's just a lot of things that we like that are very similar. Like a lot of us are into like the arts and like the kind of food that we like, the things that we like to try. Like it's just so different from the family I grew up with. Like I'm the only one in my family that I grew up with. I'm the first one to be able to travel and get outside, and I'm the only one. I like to explore and I like to do things, and we're the same way. We're all like that, but not a lot of people in my family. They don't. They call, like when somebody has to get on an airplane, I have to arrange everything because nobody knows how to fly, or they don't, because nobody goes anywhere,
Mm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
anyways, I don't know if I got that exploring characteristic from that side of the family, but it feels like it, like just going and picking up and going somewhere, and just leaving and just getting out of my comfort zone. That's so me.
It sounds like you're seeing a lot of your personality in your new half siblings, or especially your half sister that you said she just stayed with you, right? For the week?
Yeah. Yeah. And she said that she's like, I feel like I was staying with our other sister. She's like,
Oh.
it's very her, like we're all similar. So we always we have the same conversations about everything because we're always trying to take care of each other to the point where it's almost like a conflict because we're like, no, how do you want to do things? No, what do you want to do? And then we can't decide, and then we just kind of go with the flow and whatever happens. So that's what we were doing to each other. But I never have been with anybody that is similar like that in my personality like that. So it was really strange to experience that.
Yeah. Yeah.
She
Because
was
you're
used
not
to it.
used to that.
Yeah, but and she was used to it because she experiences that with her other sisters too.
Oh, sure. Everyone is so accommodating. It
Yeah,
sounds like
yeah.
considerate.
Mm-hmm. So,
Well,
anyways, it was really, really insightful and really nice. We did some really adventurous stuff too. So, just to try it, just to do things, and not everybody would do that with me. So, it was really cool, really nice.
well, Jaclyn, we are going to protect your anonymity, and we'll clean this story up and make sure that we protect your identity. But thank you for sharing your story. And if anyone wants to get a hold of Jaclyn, they can certainly email me npestories@gmail.com, and I will pass that along to her if you have a message or feedback. And Jaclyn, did you have anything else that you wanted to share today?
No, I just want to thank you for taking the time to interview all the stories, because, like I said, they really, really helped me in my journey. And I like what you said at the beginning. It does get better, because I feel like it has gotten better. I mean, although I still go through phases of of it's not the same when you first find out. It does get better, um, and so thank you for allowing my story to be included into your collection of stories, because I know we have little nuances that are a little different. So hopefully somebody will be able to identify, because I think I took a little piece out of everyone's story, and it really helped me. So thank you for that.
These stories are here for us to identify with. If you are an NPE and would like to share your story, email npestories@gmail.com. You do not have to give any identifying information. If you are an NPE and would like to share your story, I'd like to hear from you. Subscribe to this podcast to hear more. Come heal with us.